Hi everybody, it's me again. I'm doing this video because somebody wanted to see me do one full row of the afghan that I'm working on right now. And the afghan I'm working on right now is 300 stitches wide. And she wants to see how I maneuver working with so many stitches at one time, and maybe it'll be helpful to someone else. But as you know, I love the circular crochet hook, and the circular crochet hook is the hook that has a crochet hook at each end with the flexible cable in the middle. And a lot of people always ask, well, how do you use the circular crochet hook? You use it just like you use any crochet hook. You're only using one crochet hook at a time. The one on the opposite end, I'm left-handed, so I'm using this end. But this end is basically just to keep my hooks, my loops on the hook all at once. These are 300 stitches, and because of this flexible cable, I can push that down even further. And as you can see, I still have all this space. I can still add, I know, easily 300 more stitches if I needed to. I'm quite sure I could, because all I would have to do is just continue just pushing that down further and further until I can't even imagine how many stitches I could fit on here. If I needed to, usually that I don't even push it all the way in, all the way to the end of the hook, but if I do, that the hook at the end keeps those stitches from coming off, and I can even push that down even further, making it possible to add even more stitches onto the hook. But my afghan is 300 stitches wide, so this is more than enough. And usually I usually keep the hook clear of any stitches, and I put mostly all my loops or all my stitches mostly in that flexible cable in the middle. And the opposite end, I'll just lay it right here on the couch next to me. I usually just sit in my couch right here and crochet while I'm watching TV. But I've already done these 300 stitches, so now I'm going to show how I take my stitches off, and just to give her an idea of how to maneuver it. And as you know, I don't use bobbins. I just use separate balls of yarn, and I just keep it in a basket, a tub, or just anything. I just keep them all in one little central area. For this project, I'm using that little basket. So now I just start taking my stitches off of the hook. And as I've shown in my other video, my changing colors video, I always pick up my new color from underneath the old color. And the way it doesn't get tangled is because when I put the stitches on the forward pass, they go, I pick the new color up from underneath the old color, so they tangle then. But then when I take on the return pass, when I take the stitches off of the hook, I do the same thing. I pick up the old color, the new color from underneath the old color, and then it untangles it. So see that first color, that was orange, then that white, and then that purple, and now I'm taking off this section of white. I like the circular crochet hook because the handle is longer than that hook with the flexible cable at the end. The handle is just way too short for me. I can't get a good comfortable grip come at the end, that white. So I don't waste any yarn. This little piece of white right here, I'm using it. So I'm going to add that. And I like to tie my pieces together. Some people don't, but that's just a personal preference of mine. So I tie that little knot right there. I continue taking off the white. Next color change I'm coming up to is my purple. So I'm going to pick up that old color from the new color from underneath the old color. Pick that purple up from underneath the white, and then when I pull that, now I'm going back to the white, then that purple. Now I'm going from white to the orange, and I pull that, and then that, so it doesn't get tangled, or it untangles what I tangled up on the forward pass. On the return pass, then it untangles. Then I'm going back to that orange. Now since I didn't use separate balls from this orange to this orange, I just carried the yarn over. So I'm going to carry that orange right back over. A lot of people don't like to do that, but it's all a matter of personal preference. It's just for a few stitches, so I will carry my yarn for a few stitches. And again, I'm going back to the orange. I carry that same yarn over. Now I'm going back from orange to white. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, that was 5 orange stitches. So I did 2 separate balls for the white. So instead of carrying this white, I did a separate one. So I'm going back to that white. Now I did carry the orange on this one, so I'm going back to that same orange. And now I did carry it a little bit further than I usually do, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 orange stitches. No, 6 white stitches. I went from a stretch of orange, then I did 6 white stitches, and I went back to orange. But I carried that orange because it's only for that one row, so I didn't want to do another separate ball of yarn just for that one little section. So I carried it. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. All a matter of preference. But it doesn't bother me, so I did carry it that time. And I did do it that time also, because that was for once on that row. Excuse me. And this orange. And I pick up this white. Then back to that same orange. So that white untangles. I mean, in the basket, there's it doesn't tangle up. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of loose yarn in here, because the Afghan is 300 stitches wide, and it's going to get moved around a lot. And sometimes I lay it out to take a picture, a progress picture, and then I'm moving it around a lot, so it is going to get like a little loose in here. But as long as it doesn't tangle up where it's knotted and you have to stop to untangle it each separate ball, then it's still, I don't know how to say it, it's still workable, and it doesn't get caught. It still feeds, the yarn still feeds through my fingers, so that I can still work with it without having to stop to untangle knots. It doesn't get knotted or tangled up like that. Like I said, it tangles on that forward pass, but then on the return pass, it untangles. I'm taking off this purple, and then I went right back to that same white. So I carried that white over. Now that purple, I just put that to the side. Now I'm picking up this orange. Work off these 4 orange stitches. Pick up another white. 2 white, and then I'm taking off these orange stitches. And now see, these are the ones I just worked off. That white, let's pull that over, then that orange, then that white. See, I mean, you have a lot of yarn down here, but it doesn't get tangled. Finish working off these purple stitches. Took 2 off at once. And then I'm switching to the brown. Pick up that brown from underneath the purple. Work off that purple. Now I'm working off the brown. Now I'm switching to the black. And then the white. Let's pull the whole color. And a lot of people like the bamboo hooks. Now I take the end of this and pull that up so I can just kind of slide my stitches further up the hook, make them easier to take off. And as I was saying, a lot of people like the bamboo hooks, but I personally don't like the bamboo hooks because the bamboo hooks, they don't glide like this metal, how this metal is gliding through the yarn smoothly, easily. But the bamboo hooks, for me, they didn't slide, they didn't glide through easily or smoothly. It was like getting caught a little bit, and I couldn't go as fast with the bamboo hooks as I could with the metal hooks. And also the bamboo hooks, the actual hook is just, I don't know, I think it's almost half the length of this. So when I put the stitches on the forward pass, it's not difficult. But when it comes time to take the loops off or the stitches off on the return pass, it's not as easy to do as it is with the longer hook. Because this longer hook, I have more of a handle to hold on to, and it's just a more comfortable grip. And I can just work faster that way. And when it comes to making an Afghan that's 300 by 300, I'm all about speed. I mean, I want to do it right, of course, and I want it to look good. But at the same time, I'm trying to finish it as soon as possible. And any little thing that's going to slow me down, I don't do it. A lot of people like bobbins. I never even knew what bobbins were until I joined these crochet groups. And when I actually saw a picture of them, I was like, oh, that's what that thing is. Because I've seen them before. And I've even bought like a little crochet, I guess you would say, little teach yourself how to crochet kits that had different supplies in it. And I would look at the bobbins and I was like, what is this? I never even knew what it was. And I just threw it away. But I mean, if you use bobbins and it works for you, that's great. More power to you. But it would just slow me down. Because all this, I mean, I've never used bobbins, so I don't know, but it seems like I would have to stop when I get to that certain color change. I'd have to stop and unwind some of the yarn off of the bobbin, I think, I mean, that's how it looks to me. And then these, I've seen some people use clips, and they clip the bobbin slash clip to the afghan. So when I get to that part, then I would have to unclip it and then clip it back, and I just can't do all that. I always say I'm a lazy crocheter. That takes too much time. That's slowing me down. And I'm trying to zip through it as fast as possible. Of course, I want it to look good too, of course. But I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to say don't use your bobbins. I'm not saying don't use your bamboo hooks. I'm just sharing what I do and how I like to do it. And maybe it'll be helpful to somebody else. So, but like I said, I'm doing this video because somebody asked me. She wanted to see how I pretty much work with 300 stitches at a time. Yeah, that's really easy. To me it is anyway. And then a lot of people, I see a lot of people ask questions about how do you keep up with what row you're on, and a lot of people talking about counting stitches. I don't count stitches for every single row. And when I start out, especially when I start out with the color changes, I'm going to have to count to make sure I have it done right. But once I've got that first foundation of color changes done, then every other row builds off of that, because I put post-it notes on my pattern to keep up with where I'm at. But I put the post-its on the row that I just completed. So the post-it is directly under what is right in front of me. So I look at the row above that and build off of the row that I just completed, because the row that I just completed is what I'm looking at. So I put my post-it under the row, the last row I completed. But the row I'm working on is actually the row above that. So if I start off this one row, like my background color on this is white. So I just did that row, and then I look on my pattern and I see that the next row is exactly like the one above it. So I know when I get to, when I do that first color, that white, I do it the exact same amount that I just did on the previous row. Then my next color is going to be black. And I can see if it's the same amount, or maybe it's one less or two less, or one more, two more. I just build the row that I'm working on. I just build that off of the row that I just completed. That way I don't have to sit there and count every single stitch for every row. That would drive me crazy. Especially with 300 stitches. I'm not sitting up here counting 300 stitches for every single row. And then this is 300 by 300, so that's a total of 300 rows. That would drive me crazy. Now this one I have decided I've done I guess you could say a built-in border. I like the Tunisian honeycomb stitch. So the main colors of this graph is orange, white, and purple. So I'm doing a orange, white, and purple border in the Tunisian honeycomb stitch. I did 9 rows, 3 rows of each color. 3 of the orange, 3 of the white, 3 of the purple. I did it at the bottom. I'm doing it on the sides. And when I finish, to finish off the top, I'm going to do the same thing at the top. So when I'm done, border and everything. I can just finish weaving in my ends, put it in the washing machine, let it dry, and my husband would be a happy camper. He's a big Clemson fan, so this Afghan is for him. And I hope it was helpful. Thank you for watching.